tired. You're tired of the same old thing. You're tired of the testimonies. Oh, I heard that testimony before. You know, you're tired of the teaching series. You've heard it before. You've seen it before. You come in contact with people that you've seen in ministry, only to see them fall or have certain weaknesses exposed. And then you start to think that everybody's a counterfeit, that everybody is after your money, that everybody is not walking in integrity, doesn't have character. You start to believe that. You know, people that you held in high regard, and you see them start to operate in some counterfeit things and some false things. And you start to have a lowered expectation. Your hope is affected. And you're not hoping for great things. You know, at first you were zealous. You would go and lay hands on people and pray for them. But then you got to the point where you weren't really seeing anything. And so they'd ask you to pray, and you say, okay, I'm praying for you. And you say a quick prayer, but you didn't really have an expectation of change. You know, it's just, you're just going through the motions. It became ritual. And the Lord says, listen, I know that that's what's been going on because you were in a dry place. But remember we talked about on last week that there are winds that blow across Palestine at night. During the day, it's very hot in Palestine. And everything's dried up. They don't receive much rain in a certain period of time. There's like 6-7 months where they don't receive any rain. But there is this breeze that goes across from the sea. And it carries moisture, and it waters everything. And so we call that dew. It's the morning dew, the early morning dew. And the vegetation receives that dew and is able to still grow in a dark, dry time. And the Lord says, you've been growing in a dark, dry time. But I'm about to send you waters that are going to overflow the dried out banks. This is that time of Psalm 127. You'll know, I love that scripture where he talks about the fact that we were walking around carrying a precious bag of seed. You remember that scripture? And we were weeping when we were carrying a precious bag of seed. But then the Lord came and caused there to be a harvest. And then those that were carrying the precious bag of seed came back again with the sheaves from the seed, with the result, because it was a due season. And so they had the fruit of the seeds that they'd sown. And the heathen, the people that had been watching them even in the dry season, said the Lord has done great things for them. And then they answered, the Lord has done great things for us. They weren't confused. They knew it was God. It wasn't their intellect. It wasn't that they were just working so hard and doing all these things. It was the Lord. They said, the Lord has done great things for us, whereof we are glad. But when you look at the beginning of that particular chapter, it starts out by saying, Lord, restore our captivity as the streams in the south. And when you look at the streams in the south, what that's alluding to is those dry riverbanks that are cracked and dry because they haven't had any water. And then when the rain comes, not only does it fill up those dry beds, but it overflows them so that everything becomes lush. And the Lord says, listen, you've had a dry season to the point where you don't even think that you should have anything. When things start to come to you, you feel a little guilty because you're being blessed. And the Lord says, don't you know that I delight in doing good to my children? I want you to have these things, but I did not want these things to have you. I want you to enjoy life. My son came so that you can have life in abundance. And so he says, I want you to get your expectation up again. I want you to get your hope up. This is a season of Athenos. This is a season of the suddenlies where you pray and you see it right after you pray. When things just spring up quickly. This is that due season that the prophets have been prophesying. A prophet is always going to speak it before it happens. And we get discouraged because it didn't happen as soon as we heard it. But a seed is sown, but it doesn't come up usually immediately after it's sown. There's a time in which it comes up and it bears its fruit. But the Lord says these words were spoken and I watered these words and now they're bringing forth what it is that I intended for them to bring forth. You waited. You waited with me and you waited on me and you've been faithful and there is a reward for your faithfulness. I always reward the faithful. You've been faithful. You stood. You didn't always get it right, but you always came back. Your focus was always on becoming what it is that I desire that you become. And the Lord says, I've noticed, I've seen, and there is a due season. And this is that due season where things are about to start happening and are even now happening very quickly. But the Lord says, look around and see and recognize that it's happening. Recognize the things that should be making you say, wow, but you're still expecting the whoa. The Lord says, don't expect the shoe to fall. Don't expect that it's going to change all of a sudden and it's going to get bad. He says, trust me. This is a due season. Now, this is what you need to know in the due season. There's a time of doing, D-O, in the due season. The Lord says that it's a due season, but you've got to be in the right field. Ooh, that's good. I don't think I got enough time to preach that, so I'm just going to give you just the abbreviated version. Okay? It's a time when we have to get the instruction for the right field to be in. When you look at the story of Naomi and Ruth and Boaz, we know that they left Moab and they came back to Bethlehem. They came back to the place where they were supposed to be. And when they came back to this place, they didn't have anything to eat. So everybody around them was flourishing, but they didn't have anything to eat. And they were in the right region, but they didn't have enough to eat. But the Lord gave an instruction to Naomi to give to Ruth. And Ruth listened to the instruction, followed the instruction, and went to the field that she was supposed to be in. There were two different relatives that she could have went to that had a claim to her. You know, that whole shoe covenant thing. So she could have went to two different people. But the instruction that came from the Lord to her mother-in-law, who was her covering in that time, came to her mother-in-law and said, go to Boaz. And I want you to just pick up and glean in his field. And as she was gleaning in his field, she was recognized. She was seen. And the Lord says, listen, this is a due season, but you need to be in the right field doing the right thing so that you can receive from what it is that is being harvested now. So you're not sowing seeds right now. All you're doing is harvesting what's already been sown. And listen to this. You're going to be able to harvest when you've not even sown if you're in the right field. You're going to live in houses that you didn't have to build. And you're going to drink from cisterns that you didn't have to dig. All you got to do is follow the instruction. Listen, you've been wanting to be delivered. You've been crying and your deliverance hasn't come. You're like, Lord, how long? And am I going to be in captivity to this thing? But the Lord says it's a due season. This is the due season. Today is the day of salvation. But I want you to hear my instruction. And don't say I tried it 50 different times and I haven't had a result. The Lord said this is the 51st time and it's going to have a result. You follow my instruction. You go where I tell you to go. It wasn't the due season yet. There were some things that I needed to reposition. There were some people that you're going to encounter that were not ready for you yet. Oh, yeah. And so you were on the shelf. And you were like, God, how long am I going to be on the shelf? The Lord says, I got to adjust some things. I got to align some things in your life, but not only in your life, in the life of those people that are around, that are waiting for you. They don't even know they're waiting for you, expecting you. They don't even know that they're expecting you, but they can't handle you right now. They think they want the truth. They can't handle the truth. And so he says, listen, at the appointed time, I'm going to send you. I'm going to let them experience some things so they're ready for what it is that you're going to bring. I'm going to move some things around. I'm going to shift their paradigm. The way that they look at things, I'm going to shift that myself. So that the deliverance is easy. Because my yoke is easy and my burden is light.